What's going on, guys? So today we're doing some much needed maintenance on the E34. I haven't changed the oil on this car in like 8 months since I put it away for winter storage last year, and it's gone through a lot of dyno days, a lot of abuse, and the E85. So I figured that the oil was way diluted. So I finally changed the oil. So now we're gonna mess with my fuel issue. Not really an issue, but I noticed that the car can't really go below a half a tank of gas. It would anything below half and it would cut. So I was kind of wondering if maybe like there was a rip in my line, or my fuel pump kind of like floated out of the hole in the bottom. But I kind of thought about it, and if you remember my older video of me doing all this work, I cut this return line right here that goes into the base for the pump, and I cut that because I thought that it would be restrictive. But now that I think about it more, I figure that since that's the return and it's constantly flowing and it flows right into the base where the pickup is, you kind of always have fuel here. Whereas as of right now, it doesn't do that. And if I'm kind of low on gas, like right now it's got a quarter tank, when I'm doing a pull, all that gas is going to the back of the tank because it's a big tank. So I think it's just starving because it doesn't have this return. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that back to normal. I'm gonna get a new line here. And then I'm gonna clean my socks, just a little dirty, and there's a little patch of garbage in the gas tank. So I'm gonna bust out the old trusty wet dry vac and vacuum that up. I'm sure people have something to say about that, but I've done it before with a half tank of 93. So doing it with a quarter tank of E85, shouldn't be too worried about it. But I'm gonna go ahead and do those things and try to kind of sort this thing out, and hopefully this problem goes away. I would hope so. This is also at the same time that I'm doing the gas tank on the E12. So I'm doing two fuel tank things at once, and it's pretty annoying. But I'd rather smell E85 than well, the E12 has 89, but regardless. All right, so I got the new return line hooked up, so now this is back to how it should be. And I had the sock, and I brake cleaned the sock to get the little bit of dirt that was on it out. It's not perfect, but it's definitely not that bad. If I had another one on hand, I would replace it. But now we're gonna vacuum out the one spot on the tank. So if you can see right there where the pump sits, there's a fair amount of residue chilling, and I don't want that being sucked up. So I'm gonna vacuum that out real quick. Should be just one quick little suck. Don't have to worry about blowing up or anything. So I got the little bit vacuumed out. It's all cleaned up. I got everything back in and hooked up. And the car's been having a really bad fuel smell, and that's because the epoxy that was holding my wires that are going through, since the pump is hardwired, the epoxy broke away. So that was just leaving all this to kind of just smell. So now that it's hooked back up, I'm going to wire this and then re-epoxy that, and then that should help with the smell in the car. But otherwise, we're gonna go on a test drive and see if anything happened, if it changed, if it's better. If the car doesn't run, we'll see. All right, so we're test driving it. It's at less than a quarter, so really low. So if it doesn't cut, then I will be very surprised, because that's pretty low. So I'm gonna do a little third gear brake boost here, and let's see what happens. Oh, so looks like no cut, and that's like hardly any fuel. So that's actually pretty impressive. So I would say the Germans knew what they were doing when they put that line on, because without it, this car could not go below half a tank. But with it, we're at a quarter and we're still doing pulls. This car has not been able to do a pull under a half tank of gas in months. So that is very refreshing. I'm very happy about that. Great success. All right, we're filling up some ethanol. $2, pretty cheap. I'm pretty happy that this car doesn't need a full tank anymore to not cut, so that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and only do a half, just to continue driving it and make sure that the problem's fixed. But I'm super hyped because I didn't think that would ever fix, and I didn't know if the tank was just reading wrong or what, but definitely needed that return pump. So I'm sorry if anyone was watching that video and decided to do that as well. Do not do that, because it does not work out well for you. So I JB welded the my wires that go through the sending unit to eliminate the fuel smell. So if you guys don't know, I have a hardwired fuel pump. So because of that, you have to drill through your sending unit and basically run your power and your ground straight down to the pump. And because of that, you obviously get a space here between the wires for the fuel smell to kind of reach up, because that's right at the tank. So that's what the case has been, and my old epoxy didn't hold, so it was kind of smelling in the car. So I redid that, in an attempt to stop the smell. And I gotta say, I went for a drive and it's not all that much better. It still smells like you can still smell the fuel, but I think when it comes down to it, I think the main thing with that is the fact that I just don't have the charcoal canister or any of the evap stuff anymore. If you guys don't know, on E34's, and I mean, I know E36's, but most BMWs, most cars in general, they all have evap stuff, obviously, for the fuel tank vapor. If you watch my E12 fuel tank videos, I talked about how it has the 3 lines that basically vent the tank. I don't know what those go to, but on the E34's, right here where my intercooler pipe goes down, there's supposed to be a charcoal canister. And there's lines, I think there's 2 lines that route from the tank, and they're somewhere down here tucked away, you won't be able to see them. But one of them routes into the charcoal canister, and then the other one, I believe, routes into the bottom of the throttle body. That's all deleted. So I don't have a charcoal canister, which is what's supposed to get rid of that smell. So I think that's what really the main thing about why the car has fumes in it. I've heard a lot of stories of people that are facing the same issue, even with non-turboed cars. So if I wanted to eliminate that completely, I would say I would just put back in my charcoal canister. But as of right now, the way my intercooler piping is routed, that's not going to happen. Next season, I don't know if I've told my YouTube channel, but I've told my friends, and I've asked Zach if he'll do it. We're probably planning on upgrading the turbo to a better, more efficient, probably a precision. And then along with that will probably come all new intercooler piping, because my main issue with this car completely is the way all this looks. I really hate the look of all the exposed intercooler and the piping. Basically, I didn't make it clear to the fabricator who did everything originally about how I wanted to mount a bumper, because it was right after the car got totaled, and I'll get into that in a minute. But I wasn't focused on how the car looked, and I didn't plan on all this to be so kind of nice. I didn't expect the car to come together so nicely. So luckily I had this Alpina lip with the bumper that hangs way lower, because the intercooler hangs super low. And luckily with the Alpina lip, it's able to actually sit below this. But the way it's all mounted, I had to cut into the lip. And I know it sucks. I know everyone will probably hate me for it, and I hate myself for it. But I just cannot stand it. The cut look, the piping's uneven. It's just brutal. So with the newer turbo will come all new intercooler piping. I'm probably gonna get a new intercooler. I believe that's the CX one, and it kind of sucks. So I'm gonna just redo everything. So this is all gonna be new next season, and obviously I'll do videos on all that stuff. Probably update the downpipe, redo the recirc, just basically redo everything. I'm not it all works and I like how it is, but I don't like the front end. So when you change that, all this is gonna have to change. But if I do reroute all this, then I will be able to put the charcoal canister back in. So I might do that. But honestly, with the 85, the smell of the 85 isn't that bad. When there's 93 in there, the smell is pretty awful, and it is pretty annoying, and it gives you a headache and everything. And either way, I don't like the fumes, but kind of gotta do what you gotta do when you got a high horsepower car. But also, I don't think what helps is the fact that I don't run the cover here, and this is the gasket for it, because all this hardwire stuff, the relay sits too high, so I can't even cover it. But actually I might be able to tuck this, so I'm gonna see. I might try to run that. Either way, that's not what interesting, but that might help a little bit, because basically right now we have open access to the fuel tank. But either way, did the epoxy, didn't really do much. So that's my explanation. And this whole video is basically just like a little update on the E34. It's been a while. So what I also did was I remounted this bumper. As I just mentioned, this car was in an accident. I don't know if I've really done a story time on the YouTube, but it was hit at a stop sign. I was dead stopped, and the car hit me right here. That's why there's no paint right here, because this is the bumper that was on. And the car at the time was so low to where the SUV basically just drove up on my bumper, onto my hood, just collapsed this whole end of the car. So underneath this fender, and you can see I don't have these bolts, the actual like frame that mounts on the fender is pushed down. And I got a jack and I got a winch and I got it as good as possible, but you can see right there, that is part of the arm, and it's all pushed down and in. So that first off sits really close to my tire, so when I'm turning that way, it rubs, and you can't see from here, but there's no paint there because it rubs. but because of that, the bumper mounts on the slider that obviously mounts on the you know, the whole frame here, and because it's all pushed down, the bumper, when you mount it on that slider, sits really low because the slider's lower, obviously, and it had been bothering me forever because all the rest of the bumper lines up nice, but this side would always be hanging really low, so the gap here would be huge. I mean, I'm talking like an inch and a half, and it was just disgusting. So I'd always put one zip tie in it to kind of hold it, but really, since it's plastic and not the metal part was being lifted, it would just kind of look really goofy. So what I did was I actually took off the slider entirely because it's so busted up, and I mounted the bumper, I pushed it up as high as possible, and then just zip tied the bumper itself to that arm, kind of where the slider would be. So you can maybe see there's some zip ties, and then I got another zip tie right here as before, and because of that, I was able to actually get the bumper pulled up fairly high so that it's actually more of a stock body line. And if you're looking at it from, you know, the average person's height, you cannot see anything that looks out of ordinary, so it looks 10 times better. The other side was always fine, so that's how like it looks stock. Again, I'm missing the black what is it, the rubber like trims that are supposed to go on these parts of the bumper, so that's why you see all that spacing there, because I don't actually have like the rubber trims. If I had my wagon here, I would show you what I mean, but yeah, I mean, it's all not how it should be. But the car was wrecked. It's a turbo car now. It's missing a lot of original stuff, so it's not perfect, but it looks way better. And I mean, I gotta say, that was the most frustrating part of this whole car. Just looking at all the front end stuff bothered me to no extent. I really like the stock bumpers on these cars. The problem with the Alpina one is it hangs really low and it's full paint match, right? But when you come over here, it's a 92, meaning you don't have paint match skirts and paint match rear bumper, like the lower part. So it just, you could see here, first off, it hangs about an inch or two lower than the rest of the car. But second off, it's all Calypso, whereas that's black. And because of that, it gives you a really kind of, in my opinion, goofy look from the side. And it just really looks off. So I do not like it. So from the front, it looks sweet. I mean, I gotta say, even with the messed up intercooler piping and the exposed piping, it does look cool. You guys might think it looks cool too. It makes it look mean, and it's really just a badass look with the Alpina. But from the side and every other angle, I'm not a huge fan of it. So next season, that'll all be redone, and obviously I'll have all the videos of doing that. And yeah, it should be fun. The new turbo will make a lot more power than we're making right now. So I'm excited, because this whole set HX35 is just at the end of its efficiency range, and it's even beyond its efficiency range. That's my little update on the E34. I figured I want to tell you guys the fuel issue I was having, and I wanted to address that, and I just figured I'd show you guys all the other things I kind of have done to it in the past week. Obviously, since all the videos of me finishing it up, there's not much to do on it, so I haven't been filming much on it, but I just want to give you guys an update. So thank you guys for watching.